So today we have the beautiful Karen Whybrow with us. She is a licensed rapid transformational therapy practitioner.
Bit of a
I've
mouth.
never heard of this. It is a mouthful, but I love it because I love the word transformational. So word I use all the time. And being in counseling for many years myself, I didn't really get a lot of counseling. So rapid transformational therapy, if I had this like 20 years ago, 5 years ago, even 4 years ago, I'd been like, yes, sign me up for this because I want rapid healing. Who does not want rapid healing? So Karen
Exactly.
is going to share with us this incredible modality. And I just want to put in here, I love her mission statement. She empowers women to know they have the answers within themselves and the ability to heal. So many of us don't realize that healing comes from within. And I think one of the key components that they miss is going through the grieving process. And I know you have your story is directly related to that. So thank you so much for being here. Can you
Thank you
just
for
give us a
having
little
me.
bit more background? Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, beautiful introduction. Thank you so much, Lisa. So I am a young widow. So we'll start with my, I say my why, but it is my why. It's why I'm where I am at the moment. So it is, my why, I guess. So my husband died 4 years ago. And he had bowel cancer. He was diagnosed with terminal bowel cancer when we were 6 months pregnant with our youngest child. So we struggled getting pregnant. The first child, no problems. Second child, we struggled getting pregnant with. And we tried for probably about 18 months before we actually got pregnant with Harriet. And 6 months pregnant, we sat in front of this oncologist who's telling us that he's got bowel cancer, that my husband's got bowel cancer. So you go from this massive high of this baby who you've been trying for and kind of like putting all your energy and focus into having, or, making and growing. And having that massive high of we're pregnant, we've got, the complete what we've wanted, what we both longed for. So from that massive high to that, the rug just pulled right from underneath you of shit. What do we do now? What happens? What happens? Obviously, completely new experience to both of us. I don't think either of us had any sort of close family members who had been through a cancer journey or friends who've been through a cancer journey. So it was just all new and not what you want to be doing when you're 6 months pregnant.
No, that's devastating.
Yes.
So do they give him a time frame or like, is there
No,
any
he
hope for
wasn't. He wasn't
healing?
given a time frame. We were only told that it was a kind of terminal diagnosis when we really pushed, and that was later, sort of after the sort of initial diagnosis, I suppose. And because we were both very naive, because we hadn't been through it and don't know what to expect, it wasn't something that we really asked either until later on. And he did the chemotherapy. He went through chemotherapy, which was successful to begin with. And he was having chemotherapy when we had Harriet, when we had our daughter, our youngest. And we had obviously the most horrendous birth because it just wouldn't be, it wouldn't work if it was a good birth, would it? So we had this horrendous birth, and I ended up having an emergency C-section. And like about 3 hours later, Ben went across the hospital to have chemotherapy. Because he didn't want to miss his appointment. So again, going from like this high of having a baby eventually to just going across and having chemotherapy because that's what you have to do. That's what he wanted to do and needed to do. So again, just the whole parallels were just really surreal all throughout kind of the last months of pregnancy, being in this chemotherapy unit, like heavily pregnant with all these like old people who were kind of totally different stages of life. It's just surreal, really surreal. But we sort of, carried on, got through it all. And it was Christmas 2016 that Ben's symptoms started to come back. And the chemotherapy had stopped working, which happens with chemotherapy. You find out again later. It can happen. And we went on a program of radiotherapy, which was pretty horrendous. And then more chemotherapy after that, because the radiotherapy hadn't worked. But the cancer had spread by this point, so it was in his liver and lungs as well. And it was just a kind of a waiting game, I suppose. And he died in August 2017, when the girls were, Harriet was had just turned 1, so she was 13 months when he died, and Georgina, our elder daughter, was 4. And he died really, really quickly for somebody who was, terminal. He wasn't he was fine, sort of fine and compos mentis and talking. He was bedbound, but he was, his brain and everything was still functioning. So he went from that to kind of dying in sort of 3 days, which was quite, I thought very sudden. I thought we had loads of time left, so we didn't have any of the discussions that you kind of think that you have, or you see people having in movies and everything, about funeral planning, kids' futures, my future. Any of that was all kind of something that we'd do at a later date. I'd managed to, we'd had the conversation about, him wanting to write letters to the kids and everything, and I'd gone out and bought him a notebook so he could write them letters and things, and write down memories and stuff for them, but he didn't actually get a chance to do it. Because it kind of happened so suddenly. But that was really hideous to have those conversations.
And just to have that, I mean, your children were so small, and like you said, you didn't really have a plan, and now you had all these decisions to make and these responsibilities. And did you say you didn't have family nearby?
No, my family are in Cumbria, so about 6 hours away from us. But my mum came down and stayed with us while Ben was sort of in the hospital and in the hospice, so she could look after my elder daughter. Harriet was still breastfed at this point, so she had to be with me, because she loved her mummy milk. Bless her. And obviously, because of Ben being poorly, it was just me. Sort of, look, Ben would be there, but it was me doing kind of all the care. So I was all she'd ever known, if you like, as well. So that made it harder for me to kind of leave her as well at that stage, when I thought I might have to, with Ben being in hospital and everything. But she just had to come with me. So it was kind of that was that sort of thing. And I just kind of spent, I think when someone dies, Ben was 39 when he died. It was like a month before his 40th.
So young.
And I think you can, even though and I knew he was going to die, I didn't know when he was going to die, and I didn't know, I say, how he was going to die. I didn't know how he was going to die, but I knew he would. But you still don't think it's going to happen. You still don't expect it. And even though he was in a hospice on like pain management and things like that, I think your brain protects you from it. Your mind just, doesn't allow you to accept it, if you like. It's just too big and it would just overtake. So I think I just spent the kind of immediate aftermath just in funeral planning and just planning and sort of doing, and just not allowing myself to stop and think. And one of my friends who I know through the sort of bowel cancer community, her husband's in exactly the same position that Ben was in sort of this time, sort of 4 and a bit years ago, at the moment. And she put a post up this morning saying, yeah, that they don't know how long he's got left. He's in the hospice. And my heart just goes out to her, because I know what she's going to go through. And I think it's just that knowledge.
Yeah, I imagine it stirred up some emotions for you too. So here you are at the darkest moment of your life, dealing with the loss of your husband. You have these 2 small children. You're basically alone.
Yeah.
I imagine finances and just functionality in everyday life. You know, you're numb to all of these things that have to be done, going through the motions of each and every day, and trying to support your children and yourself and grieve. And that's got to be so much to go through. So how did you, I know you said earlier that you used your rapid transformational program. So how did you get involved with that?
So basically, for the first probably 10 months after Ben died, I survived. It was like Groundhog Day. It was just that whole do it, get up, do it, get up, do it. And I was drinking at that time, and I was drinking more than I wanted to be drinking. I think it's that whole labeling thing, isn't it? I wouldn't have classed myself as an alcoholic at all. I would have a couple of glasses of wine a night, sometimes more at the weekends, but I knew I didn't want to be drinking that much. So yeah, I just kind of went through the whole motions. And alcohol and me, I didn't realize it was alcohol at the time, but makes my anxiety really high as well. So I kind of wake up the next morning really anxious and just think that was like normal, and that was kind of me, and that was who I was. But it wasn't at all. It was the fact that I was drinking red wine that was making me anxious, or triggering my anxiety, I guess. So I just went through this whole like 10 months just functioning and kind of on a surface level, and not allowing myself to stop and think, and not allowing myself to accept what had actually happened. Just going through the motions and trying to keep things normal for the kids. I don't know how I thought I could, but that's just how your brain works, isn't it? It's just like, keep it normal for the kids, it'll be fine. Like, yeah, daddy's not here, that's not normal, but sort of what you do, isn't it? And about 10 months in, I realized I had all these firsts coming up. So I had the first time Ben couldn't get out of bed, the first time he had to use a wheelchair, when he was refused treatment, when we found out that it really was like the end of the line treatment wise, all these things leading up to his death. And then obviously the first year anniversary of him dying, then the funeral and all of that. I had this like probably 6 weeks of dates coming up that I had a perfectly valid excuse to drink my way through. And I was like, I either drink my way through the next 6 weeks and just be completely not present for me, not allow myself to think or grieve or kind of feel what I need to feel, really, is what it sort of comes down to. Not be there and present for the kids, just kind of go through the motions with them. Or I stop, because I knew I wouldn't be able to moderate. I knew I wouldn't just have 1 or 2 glasses, because it would be that wouldn't do it. And I had an excuse, because that's how our minds work, isn't it? I've gone like, oh yeah, my husband's like has been dead a year, I'll have a glass of wine. It's how our society, or how we work as a, I can't say it's society,
Yeah.
but it's that,
Oh,
oh,
the
you're
grieving
celebrating.
process can play trick on us. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know.
celebrating, have a drink, grieving, have a drink. And I just thought, I can't do it. I've kind of run away from this for long enough. And I sat there one night and said, well, what would Ben want? And I was like, he would tell me to get a grip and to sort myself out. So I was like, okay then. So I have to stop then. So I stopped drinking, and started to allow myself to let those feelings in, and those really big feelings of grief and loss and that I was feeling, but I was just kind of looking the other way and not not looking at, and trying to run away from, trying to hide from, because they were too much. I didn't know how to deal with them. So it was kind of then, and that point when I allowed myself to stop and allowed myself to look at what was actually going on, and to begin to process the grief and the loss that I felt, and begin to, it's kind of begin to find me again, really, because when you're in that partnership, when you're in that marriage, you're kind of, you lose yourself, really. You lose a bit of yourself, sometimes quite a bit, it just depends. But I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what my identity was anymore. I'd completely lost all sight of myself, apart from being a widow and a mother. I was like, well, is that it? Is there no more to me? And obviously before I was a widow and a mother, I was a wife and a mother. So it's kind of like, yeah, where does that identity begin to come from again? And what did I want it to be, really? I think you can look at it in the kind of good way or the negative way, and I'm like, well, I've got this opportunity that not many people have, to actually not start again, but it's like, kind of, how am I going to shape my life to how I want it to be? I've got nobody's expectations on me. I'm not in that family unit as such anymore.
Right.
It's me and the girls. So what am I going to do? And how am I going to make our life how we want it to be?
Yeah, it was all a matter of mindset, just making that choice,
Yeah.
and saying, okay, I could choose to be numb and continue to drown my sorrows and not be here,
Mm.
'cause, I mean, ultimately, if you were drinking, you weren't there emotionally for your
Yeah,
children. I mean, being there
exactly.
physically is not the same. So not only would they, if you would have chose to go down the route, they would have lost both parents.
Yeah,
Uh, you
exactly.
know, so that fact that, you know, you still connected with your husband, and to pick up, I like to say, pull up your big girl pants
Yeah,
and let's
exactly.
start, let's do what you need to do, because you're
Yeah.
strong and you can do this. And then you made that choice. So when you made that choice, what was the next step? You got into this type of, did you decide to go to counseling or?
Yeah. So I got myself a coach, because I didn't know. I had some ideas what I wanted to do and how I wanted our life to look. But I didn't know the what, the how, and the and the what. So I got myself a coach, and I was amazed by it. It's not something I'd ever done before. And just having that guidance and that focus, and someone helping you, and kind of someone being your cheerleader and your
Mhm.
biggest fan, if you like, isn't it? And just really working with what you've got, and helping you, I found really empowering. And I was like, well, I can do this. I can use this, for people in my situation. So that's how I got into the coaching. And so I went off and retrained as a life coach. And I just find the whole process. I love working with people. And I love seeing them kind of grow through our time together. And then one of my clients actually introduced me to rapid transformational therapy. She'd just completed her training, and you obviously have to work with so many clients before you can practice properly, if you like. And she sort of said, "Oh, would you like a session?" And again, I was just completely blown away by it, just all that whole solution focused, pragmatic way of looking at something. And I think for me, I mean, I'm a environmental chemist by trade, so science is like up there for me. So everything that I use, I make sure works, is backed by science and works, if that makes sense. So it can
what
be
exactly is it? Is it like a process, like a 12-step process, or?
Yeah, so it's we use hypnosis to quieten the conscious and to get into the subconscious. And then we look at whatever the presenting problem is. We just get right into the root cause, if you like. So if you think of like your brain's the computer, your conscious is on the desktop, it's right in front of you. You can see it all there clearly, get to it really easily. Your subconscious is kind of in the files, in the programs. You can still get to it, but you have to like rootle about a bit. So that's where we want to get to. And then your conscious is the like hard drive right in there that you can't get to. You need an expert to help you get to, and then you need like expert help as well when you get in there. So we use hypnosis to bridge that gap between the subconscious and the unconscious, because your unconscious is like the memory bank of everything, every sort of memory, event, good, bad, is stored in your unconscious mind, and we need to get it sort of the memories into the subconscious. So we use hypnosis to bridge that gap. And then we
That's incredible.
Work with the subconscious to find out why we behave and why we react in the way that we do. And our subconscious mind knows exactly why we do pretty much everything we do. So it is looking at that, working out why we do it, and then reprogramming it, and reframing the situation. Because often, well, 9 times out of 10, these beliefs and thought processes start in early childhood. So between the ages of 0 and 7 are when most of our beliefs, especially our limiting ones, are formed. So a lot of what was going on then isn't relevant now. So it's reframing that and just really working with that inner child that we've all got inside of us, and giving that child the safety and security and whatever it needed at that time when that story first started. And what's fascinating is the sort of our subconscious mind. It's not the event that's important, but it's the significance that our subconscious mind puts on the event that makes it important, if you like. So it can be something kind of relatively benign to us now. One of my memories that I first came up with, which I didn't have a conscious memory of, was in like early years, sort of reception class at school when I must have been about 5. I stood up in the classroom and waited in a queue to talk to the teacher and asked how to spell because I didn't know how to spell it. And she basically told me that I was stupid and I should know how to spell it, and kind of sent me on my way. She didn't say that, but that's what I took,
Yeah.
took it to mean. And I remember being really, well, I didn't remember, but when I went back to this memory, been really embarrassed and mortified that people might have heard, and then people might think I was stupid and that I wouldn't fit in and I wouldn't be accepted. And this came up in a scene of she me not wanting to put myself forward, and me kind of not wanting to show up, if you like, and it was because of this thing that happened when I was like 5. And
Powerful. Our
just,
subconscious holds so much.
so powerful. So, and it works. It just creates these permanent changes. We make these permanent changes in our subconscious in the sessions that we have, and it's just so powerful. It's amazing.
It is. I was hypnotized in a group setting once, so it was kind of cool. Very relaxed, and read up about something over the weekend about it, and it's just that thoughts in your mind. Oh, I know. I was reading. I'm a Christian. I was reading scripture, and I was talking about how I was reading the book of Job, and how, God can speak to you as you sleep and give you a thought process. And, the mind is 95% subconscious, and all of the things that we believe come from that point of view. So when you're making decisions, you're going forward, your thoughts in your subconscious are preventing you, like you said, blocking you. And it could be something as early as childhood, something that you were told. And as you were talking about that spelling thing, I got a recollection of when I was around 5. I had 3 older brothers, and there was this really smart boy down the street from me, and he knew how to spell all kinds of words, and he was a year older than me. And my brother was betting against, I had to spell zoo. Okay. Apparently zoo is an easy word to spell. My 5-year-old self did not know how to spell zoo. And my brother lost the bet because this very smart boy knew how to spell not only zoo, but like 5 other 3-letter words. I remember being called stupid, and I'm like, you can't be stupid if you never learned it. I have to learn it in order to be stupid. And I just, stupid was a word that my dad used to say to us all the time. And I used to drive me crazy, because it's like, you don't call people stupid, it's mean. And my parents were divorced, and his wife would say, oh, he doesn't mean any harm, it's just the way he talks. I go, well, it is harmful because we're kids. And all of my siblings were all very intelligent, and we all thrive not to be stupid, not to make dumb mistakes. But that sits with you, and how funny that your conversation just stirred all. I got the image. I pictured myself standing there and everything, and I was just like, wow, it was so clear. I can tell you I was wearing a striped shirt with those nylon pants from the 70s.
And it's so powerful, and your subconscious mind remembers all that, and you remembered it vividly, but your subconscious mind just works to keep you away from those feelings that you felt then. So it keeps you away from feeling stupid and feeling embarrassed and feeling belittled by your brother and this older boy because you didn't know how to spell it. And it just, every situation, and normally you're not aware of why it's doing it. It's just, you just have that fear and that, I don't like that feeling. So your subconscious mind has already put that block in place and gone, you're not doing that then. We might feel like that again. We don't want to feel like that.
And the physical reaction too. So like my stomach is churning, and just the physical reaction, that's, how I remembered it, just being so nervous and like, zoo, how do you spell the zoo? And I remember looking, at the crowd and going,
just
it's incredible.
Panic.
Yeah, exactly. So wow, that is so powerful. And who knew? Like say when I got hypnotized, I actually have it a recording in my group. I couldn't sleep at night, and so my friend's a hypnotist. Is how you say it? And she did the beach is my favorite thing. So she came in as a guest with the group and did this hypnosis through this calming your spirit and walking along the beach path. And it was really, really beautiful. And I can listen to it and replay to help me sleep, and just calms you. And it's so soothing. And one of my favorite memories is going to the beach and just enjoying the sand and the sound of the ocean waves and the seagulls flying through the air. So I love how you sharing brings back all this visual stuff. So
Yeah.
I love it. How long have you been doing this?
So I've been doing it about 18 months now.
Okay,
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, I
And
can definitely see where that would be rapid results, transformational results. I love that,
yeah.
Plato. So how many sessions does it usually take on an average, or does it depend on the situation?
It depends. So it's kind of, we do one session per issue, if you like. Sounds
Mhm.
awful, doesn't it? But most
Well, how
things,
many issues do you have?
yeah, exactly. I know, just tick them off.
Yeah.
Things, and obviously it's kind of that, how long's a piece of string, isn't it? But I tend to do a session with my clients and then see, and I'd rather work in that intuitive way, and it's very bespoke and designed for the client, the individual, rather than a kind of one size fits all, because I know it doesn't. We know it doesn't. And so I'd rather do that. So we start with the session, and I work with my coaching as well. So I do the RTT to look at those issues that are there, underlying in the subconscious, and we look at those, we deal with those, we change the story around those. But because these habits have formed, and have been going on for a very long time in most cases, I find it's really important to look at the conscious as well, and to just build in those good habits, those better habits, and just to start to put in practice, or put in place, those daily practices that we all know we should be doing, but we often don't do
Yeah.
as often as we should. And just really shift that mindset, and the way we talk to ourselves, and the way we think about ourselves, and all those good things that we can forget sometimes. And just really start to shift that. So I normally work with people over a 2-month period, and then we'll see
How it goes,
going
yeah.
forward. Yeah, but most of the time it is a single rapid transformational therapy session.
That's awesome.
Is
It's good for our audience to know that, there is hope. And like sometimes you get into
Yeah,
programs and it's like seems like it takes months and there's no budge. So to
yeah,
have it happen so quickly, that's amazing.
yeah.
What kind of advice would you give someone that experienced what you experienced, being a widow and being a young mom, these small
Yeah,
children?
yeah. I think it's be kind to yourself. And it
Mhm.
sounds simple, doesn't it? But it is that being kind to yourself, and also to just be so gentle with yourself, but also um give yourself time. I think we never I say I will never get over the death of my husband, and I don't think, it's not something, time doesn't make it better. What I've found is you deal with it better, you accept it better, you grow with and around the grief and the hole that's been left in your life, if you like, rather than it getting better or going away. That doesn't change, but you change. And to just go with it as much as you
Yeah,
can, and take help where you
yeah,
can as well, because in those early days, um yeah, in those early days, you need it. You need all the support, and the kind of the meals bringing. So if somebody says, I'll do X or I'll do Y, be like, yeah, do it.
yeah, it can
Do it.
definitely help. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much for sharing your story of your healing journey story and your heart with us. I just really appreciate you sharing that with all of us. And for our audience, I'm going to put in the description how you can connect with Karen. She is on Facebook, the Anchor Coaching, and she has a anxiety buster support. Um, group as well. So we'll put the
Yeah.
links in the description so you can connect with her. And if you're listening to this on the podcast, YouTube, wherever you find it, if you'd like to connect with Karen, you can reach out to her directly, just to search for her, or again, grab this description. And if you know someone who is a widower too, that could use her services, please share this with them so they can be on their healing journey as well. And always remember, you're not alone, and it's a matter of the heart.